Yeah, welcome very, very much to Conversation. A pleasure welcome to the program. Andrew
Yes.
Mercier.
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 Yes.
There's different ways to pronounce it and
So
everything.
many.
And anyway, he's a young man, a relatively young man who's involved with communication development, which has to do with having word get out about what's going on in terms of communication to certain people within the society. That's very, very interesting. And we met the other day, and welcome so much, Andy.
Nice to be here, Harold. Thanks for having me.
I'm wondering if you could share, we were chatting before we started, but could you share a little bit your own background, personal background, not
Sure.
a lot, but some,
Yeah.
born and raised, that sort of thing. And then we'll get into talking about this interesting company that you're part of and the industry or the aspect of communications or communicating that company represents in terms of the overall communication of the planet.
Sure. So I was born in Germany. My dad was in the Army for 23 years. I forget now. But I was born in Germany. We lived there for 3 years. Then moved to Texas, where he was deployed to the Gulf, to Saudi Arabia for the Gulf War. Was there for 8 months, came back. And then, we mostly stayed in the Southwest, Colorado, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And then came over to New York in 1998, where he was at West Point, which was lovely. And that's the place I consider home.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
She's up the river here.
Yeah. So it's nice. I live here. My family's still there. So, it's just a Metro North train ride away.
He was enlisted.
Enlisted.
Sergeant. Top
Sergeant,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He retired in 2002.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
And so that was an upcoming, it was warm family life and everything like that?
Yeah, lovely.
It was
good
good.
time.
You had a brother?
One brother.
One brother, yeah.
He's a little younger than me. He also lives nearby, just up a ways a bit.
When you're traveling around with the military, or you could be business, sometimes business people have to move from one place to another and everything. Does it disrupt, or did you have to move around going from base to base? You just get sort of set up, and then maybe the school and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, everything has to change every 3 to 4 years, depending on where
I guess that's happening to a lot of people. There's so much mobility in the society
Well, it's
now.
easy to go places.
It was, but the main thing is the family, I guess, really, because that holds together no matter where you're going and everything. And that held together well and was nurturing and all that stuff.
No, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's always rough not having one of your parents around for the most part. Like, you wake up and he's gone. You go to sleep and he's still gone because he leaves so early and comes back so late. It was busy.
I see. Really?
Yeah. No, he wasn't around a ton. He was constantly working and definitely, I think, enjoyed being in the military a lot. And we always had a good time. My brother and my mom and I. So.
But you're moving around geographically. I'm just thinking generally because people are moving around a lot now. I think more than they did, say, in the 19th century. You get someplace, you stayed there for a couple generations. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
But there's more mobility, is what I'm saying.
Much more.
And it makes it ever more important the security of the setting of the family. And you had a good setting in terms of intellectually curious and encouraging and warm.
I definitely think so. My my brother and I were always fans of reading, whereas a lot of kids aren't intrinsically interested in reading.
Would it be fair to say it was intellectually curious?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Okay.
And that interest in reading is kept up until now. We continue. I'm reading a book. I don't know if you've ever read it, American Tragedy.
Oh, is that Dreiser?
Dreiser, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
reading
right,
that now.
That's a novel.
I like it a lot. So, and I'm a big fan of biographies and historical books. And
so you're curious?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And now is your interest also going over now because we're galloping out of literature in a certain sense that we only had? I guess there were smoke signals before there was print.
Yes.
And then there came print, but we had that as linear kind of thing, print, and now we're going multimedia, are we not?
Yes.
And so are you able to find interesting intellectual stuff from the multimedia, or does society yet understand the importance of multimedia as a way of serious intellectual investigation of ideas and expanding of the educational possibility?
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
I don't know that I don't know if the society's completely grappled with what we have available. I mean, we have so many things available. Like you said, multimedia. We have audio and radio, and you have social networking and.
Yeah,
it's all there, and I don't think we've quite grasped with what all that means. But I think there are a ton of people, really smart people, that are working really hard to figure out, how that's going to work to, not just educate children, but continue stimulating our minds as we get older. But I think of the possibilities all there. There's so much information, to go through that.
Yeah.
There's no way it couldn't be.
Yeah, and you're being born into a time. You used to go much more slowly, the pace of change, but now it's just going. All of the things in the world of cyber and everything, and cyber and multimedia are interconnected and so forth. It's just going exponential. And exponential, for people who have understanding mathematics, it isn't arithmetic development, it's exponential. So the pace of the change of the rapidity of the change and the magnitude of the change is recording exponentially, not just arithmetic. So we're going through a period of incredible transformation.
It seems like something new comes around every other year.
No, you don't have a year. You got a half a year, or you got something. And we used to have, when we first got cable, we're in cable here now, and it's communicating. Let's hope we help some toward improving the human condition here and everything.
Yes.
But when I was a youngster, your age even there, I don't even think there was hardly any television. You know, thing is just moving so quickly. And you are involved, if we're going to get to that. We want to talk a little bit about education and everything, but you're involved with a company that is involved with the implications of the media and so forth. But maybe we could swing back educated. Did you pick up some education as you went along?
I did. I graduated from NYU. Class of 09.
Okay.
With a degree in media culture and communications.
Okay, there.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Media, culture, and communication. A whole lot under that rubric, isn't there?
A lot.
Yeah. No, really. And that really nests with what we're doing over here maybe a little bit. And this is multimedia.
Yeah, I mean, we would have had a class on this, I'm sure, about the importance of things like public access and public television, and in terms of education and what's available and the development of that. So, like you said, there's so many different things that go into that. So there was so much to learn.
Absolutely. And you studied, you could have studied, they had the Tisch School. That would have been art. The New York one.
Art, performing arts, film.
Yeah, and they had video. And we had a fellow, George Stoney. I don't know if you knew George Stoney, but George Stoney was an absolute pace setter in terms of this place. If it hadn't been for George Stoney, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be doing this program now. He set up this, championed in a systematic, institutional way, public access as something that the decision makers, political and in terms of the cable or the television industry, should cotton on to and follow in terms of their policy to make this possible. But he was also a great filmmaker. Have you studied the filmmakers, or do you follow like the great Flaherty?
No, not too much. I just frankly never find myself that interested in film. Like as some people are such film buffs, and but I enjoy watching movies from time to time, but I've never quite come to know the history and the filmmakers and
or you don't aspire to be a filmmaker.
No, I do not.
Okay, it's a different. You're more where you are. You're more in sort of the administration of the backstory or the thing that's going on that understands communication at a different level.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you were studying, and that's what you
got
yourself involved in, and you took your degree there then. Now, maybe we could just and you keep intellectually curious.
I try to, yes.
Yeah, right. There's a lot to know, isn't there? That's
books,
a joke.
Books, news.
News and multimedia.
Multimedia,
because things are being archived that way and everything. 1,998 channels on the television here in New York City, on cable television.
That's pretty insane.
There were 3 when I was young, so it's a different prospect. And they're practically, most all of those 1,998 channels are trying to sell you something. It's advertising.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's what motivates it. That's what motivates the whole thing, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, absolutely. I mean,
it's advertising.
Yeah, I mean, it's what kind of makes media run, news-wise, or even just watching your nighttime shows or, whatever's on the TV, it's what pays for it is the advertising. So as people are starting to shut out the ads, we're all learning how to skip them, or we'll just record our shows and skip over them. It's becoming harder and harder to get people.
Is it getting able to be doing that algorithmically? You can just automatically cut the ads out?
Pretty much.
Would they ever allow that? Because that's the bread and butter of the whole thing.
What you learn to do is you have something like your TiVo or your Apple TV, where you just kind of wait 10 minutes. What we always do is we'll wait 10 minutes for it to kind of load, and then we'll play it from the beginning, and then you could skip through the commercials.
Or you can skip
stuff like that. Basically, so you like let the live TV play ahead.
You don't feel like
records.
subversive doing that?
Oh, I mean, of course. I guess
you're not being a good citizen if you don't watch the Alka-Seltzer ad.
Not a good capitalist citizen, I suppose not. But but who wants to watch them really? So they're coming up with crazier and crazier ways to get your eyes on it, and a lot of it. And I think that has to do with why there's so many channels now, is to just kind of inundate people with all the ads that are.
Well, yeah, that's right, and that's where also a lot of those ads, that's where a lot of the creative talent goes.
Yeah.
To make those ads, because that's selling something. Yeah. That's got a bottom line that you can see, and I think that's characteristic of not only the television, but the society in general.
Yes.
The idea of the money aspect, and that's the practical aspect of things, is front and center with most all of our institutions, including those that economic theorizing and so forth that inform the political process. It's all about money, really, in a certain sense. It seems to me the major thing. There's other things like love and beauty and all those kind of things and everything, but major thing that coheres the society is the security that money promises and has been ever since evolution began, I guess.
Yeah. You
think it'll ever change?
I can't see what else there would be. I mean, unless the entire capitalist system falls, which.
You think it would be capital? Well, that motivates socialist things too.
Money.
Yeah. Well, no.
I guess you're.
The power.
The power aspect.
The power thing that undergirds political legitimacy or a system. It's all based upon power, like it always has.
Yeah.
Soviet Union, they got rid of a lot of the private sector. We have the private sector and the public sector, government and that. And they got rid of the private sector. Didn't work. I mean, they got rid of it under, collectivization. It didn't work very well.
No, it didn't.
You didn't have competition. There should be competition. I guess we got to work that out without doing in, as it were. Yeah. If you're a leftist, a communist or something, you say, let's just do away with the private sector and have it all be government and we'll do it right. Or there's people in the private sector that, well, let's do away with the government giving all this stuff out to the poor people when we could be building another temple or something or another money-making thing. So that's going to have to be worked out, and we haven't got it worked out really.
I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime.
Well, in your lifetime, I think it's going to have to. Something's going to have to be worked out, or you may be cut short in your lifetime when they let off all the weapons that come up out of the frustration of not coming up with something.
I hope not.
I would hope so, too. Anyway, we're getting far afield.
Yeah.
And listen, you're involved now with the communication, and you're working, you've taken a position, I guess, for about 4 years or so.
5.
5 years now with a company, and maybe you could share that, what your position is. You're a support person there, and then we want to talk about the company, and then some of the issues of media and public relations and so forth in terms of where that company fits into the overall zeitgeist. So what's the company and what's your position?
So it's called Gorkana, and I am a client support manager there, and what that means basically is we have I'm the head of a client-facing team that we spend our entire days just taking inbound requests from our clients, and we handle them as quickly as we can. We call ourselves the rapid response team.
Okay, rapid response.
That's what we call ourselves.
Yeah.
We always answer within 5 minutes. And just to let PR people know that we're there to help them out, because
PR people,
PR people.
Okay,
PR, public relations professionals.
Right.
To use the longer phrase.
Yeah.
But their line of work is quite hectic.
Yeah.
And can go up and down from day to day. So we kind of pride ourselves on being the people that are there kind of when they're in their darkest hour.
VR people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was 2 years ago, Fortune magazine named it the second most stressful profession after being an airline pilot.
Really?
Yes.
Is that right? Really?
Apparently.
No, is that true
Fortune.
or is that
No,
is that
absolutely. No, absolutely.
The most stressful?
Second most stressful.
Second one
after being an airline pilot. I'm sorry.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. So they definitely know how to keep busy and be stressed. So we're just trying to make their lives a little less stressful.
There's something I'm not sure it's true and everything, but I think it's true. I mean, is that the airlines? This is a sidebar, okay?
Sidebar.
This is you bring up airline pilots and everything, and that they're modeling. We can do modeling. Okay, modeling must be part of what's going on and everything. They can do modeling, and the modeling shows that the airlines of the world, you have the various airplanes that fly around in the world and everything, they land and everything, that they would be more efficient and timely and above all safer if there were no pilots at all.
At all.
Triple redundancy would make it safer to get out of the factor of human error in terms of the process by which the airplanes are flown.
I didn't know planes were
they're that
sophisticated.
autonomic.
I didn't have
Yeah,
no
it's a
idea.
model. You could maybe say that might be a model for the operating of spaceship Earth instead of all these political things that are, the human factor.
Yeah.
I only bring that up as a sidebar.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
it's really true, I think, because you have to factor in public air. If you look at airplane crashes and so forth, there's a great loss of life. If you factor in human error, it would be eliminated through triple redundancy systems. It would be safer if you didn't have them. It's a metaphor.
Makes sense.
But I'm not sure if that. I just mentioned that. Because I bring it in because you were saying, what was the other thing? Public relations?
Yes, how it's a stressful industry.
I wonder if we could get public relations down to where. Now, let's talk about public relations.
Mm-hmm.
You were aware of this great person, David Finn, at Reuter Finn.
Yeah.
That's a major public relations firm.
They're a huge firm, yeah.
They were huge. They went all over the world. Beautiful guy, one of the most beautiful people in the history of the human species was David Finn. He used to make a distinction between, he did a lot of things in support of the UN and this kind of thing, and he made a distinction to me. We've done a lot of relating and so forth between public relations and advertising.
Yes.
They're similar, but they're different. Yes. And I guess you've given some thought to that. Or what do you think? Well, how does the company you're working with, it's dealing mostly with you don't deal with advertising?
No advertising.
How do you make that distinction? Fill us in on what the reality is.
I mean, obviously the distinction's becoming less and less pronounced as time goes on. So what I guess the line we draw is, public relations people are there to relate specifically with the media, and obviously it's mostly news media, but that also counts for reality television. Basically, I mean, just the media, but it's mostly the news. So
could it relate to something like Manhattan Network, where we're talking now?
I don't see why not.
Okay,
no,
I'm just saying, that's where we are.
Potentially, if I had a PR person that they could contact you to get me on the show, that's public relations right there.
Yeah.
For whatever I'm doing, if I was doing, if I was.
And that can be a great service in terms of improving the human condition and understanding of the realities that ought to be communicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So but the departments are always fighting for company dollars from their ad departments, which are still separate. I'm sure there are some places that are starting to combine those efforts now that you have things like branded content or native advertising and this other name they call it.
You're using terms I don't quite understand. Those are in terms to the business.
These are other terms in the business, but you have things like that where you have an article in Forbes magazine that looks like an article. It's about travel, and then you get to the end and you see that it was paid for by Continental.
Okay, suppose
Airlines.
it was. That's an ad.
It's like
it's a carefully defined distinction.
It's a carefully placed ad that looks like content because like we said before, people are inundated with ads. No one wants to see ads, so you have to come up with creative ways. And this is quite in vogue right now. This native advertising, and it's making advertising look like content. So you would read that article, be like, "This is very interesting. It's about travel," and then you get to the end, you realize that it was paid for by an airline. And it might color your judgment, but
what
you
if
read
it was paid for by the United Nations Human Rights Committee?
I mean, that's also
so they're paying for it.
Yeah,
Right?
so that's the other side of it. I mean, it's as opposed to a cause where it's making money, whereas opposed the cause might be, saving hundreds of thousands of lives in war-ridden
Okay, make
areas.
a distinction. Make a distinction.
Well,
and
frankly,
there is trying to be made a distinction between those two things, right?
No.
No.
I mean,
But you're not
doing
dealing
the
with
same-
advertising.
No, but we're not dealing with advertising.
Okay, that's the distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spell it. I mean, that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
And it's got more applications about the way society is going to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's important.
Yeah.
So how do you make how do they make a distinction? There was a famous guy, I forget his name now, who did the public relations. He started the whole thing and everything.
Bernays.
That's it. That's him. He started the whole thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're in that realm.
Yes.
Your company is.
Yes. So all of our clients are public relations people.
Now, what's the status of public relations in the world today in terms of business and in terms of communication, print, multimedia? What's the where are the big? Share with us the public relations world in this year 2015.
What it looks like right now.
Yeah, what it looks like in large dimensions.
I mean, it's growing because everyone realizes that with a media market that we have now that's so big. I mean, there's so many papers, so many magazines, TV shows, web shows.
Yeah.
There's all of it that people, businesses, mostly businesses. But again, you have things like nonprofits, like the UN or UNICEF or the Red Cross. Everybody's trying to get their message out there, and it's getting harder and harder because there's so much noise, is what people call it. There's so much noise happening.
And a lot of those things that are trying to get the message out are also asking, let's say, the children are dying here, could you send $5?
Yeah. And
now, is that an ad or is that a PR thing, or how do you deal with something that way? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that's and I think your questions are highlighting the fact that the lines are so blurry these days. And it's and I think the departments do work together. So I mean, if you're on TV and an ad comes up and it's Haiti after the earthquake, say, and they're asking for money for relief, I think that's an ad. But then you have something like you get the head of a large company, or you have someone like a celebrity, like say I think Sean Penn was there in Haiti quite a lot.
Yeah, he was.
And I'm sure there's PR people on the ground that make sure that the right reporters are there writing about Sean Penn there. And I'm sure he had the best intentions, but PR is PR, and and that helped him become kind of the face of people in Haiti, the relief in Haiti.
He's got a great rep for being caring about things other than just his career.
He does. And if anything, that PR then
he deserves
gets more people to look at that ad and think, I should give my $5 or $10 to that. So they work together. They're not completely separate, but they're not the same. They're kind of just more
and you're
more
in that
together.
netherworld? I mean, you're working in that? Now, the company is, right?
Yes, yes.
And how do they decide? How is it? You've been 20 years or so, and it got started by a couple of Brits?
Yeah, a couple of British men back in 2003, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and they were PR people themselves in London, and it started out as an email newsletter, which we still send out pretty much every day.
Coming up with the development of communications of the computer.
Yeah,
itself.
exactly.
Yeah,
so I mean, back then, 2003. I guess if you think about it, the internet as a medium for everyone to use was still fairly new.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we got internet in my house in like 1999 or something like that. It was still, not far off.
Yeah.
So, they were doing that, and then they decided, as the newsletter got bigger and bigger, they just decided to turn it into the company that it is today.
Now, how many companies as this one are there in that realm of public relations that are doing similar things to you? What's the competition, if that's the right term? Is there an association of people, public relations association? Are there people who are more ready to be accepting of outright crazy Eddie ads in terms of advertising and that? How is the overall world? Do they have meetings in Washington at fancy hotels, and what's the
they
situation?
do actually. I mean, there's so in terms of competition, there's not too many. It's a fairly small world.
You're talking for your thing.
For people that do exactly what my company does,
yeah.
like PR databases and media tracking, et cetera. There's not many.
And do you try to make a distinction between the outright crazy Eddie ad to sell something and something of some mean, of public relations of value to the human condition? Do you understand? Are you trying to make a distinction there at your company?
No, not necessarily.
Okay,
I mean, we work with all different kinds of companies. We work with nonprofits. We work with banks and law firms. And of course, a bank and a nonprofit have two different end goals.
Right.
And it's if you can make the distinction about what the ultimate goal is, but what they're doing is they're doing the same thing. They're reaching out to people in the media, journalists, just trying to get their word out about what things that they're doing, good, bad, in between. So that's what they're doing. And it's just like any other industry. There are associations. I think the biggest one is this PRSA. It stands for the Public Relations Society of America, and it's.
Does your company belong to that?
We do not, but we've hosted. We've been sponsors at at their yearly function.
Why don't they join?
Well, because we don't actually do public relations, but we're always there to meet people there.
Okay. Are you a mediator? You don't do public relations?
No, we don't do the public relations ourselves. We're kind of
a service agency of the public relations?
Yes, we are a service agency.
As a unique kind of role.
Yes, so we're like middlemen, So we're media intelligence. So we have a database, and PR people access it, and if they need to find, this woman at CNN, this reporter mentioned us in an article. I want to email her about it and keep in touch with her because she mentioned our company. She'll do it again. So
and they might try. They got somebody who's got something to say. They might want to relate to a media presence that they could set up a taping session. Or
exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, that's important.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's because there are so many different outlets.
Yeah.
It's for a public relations person to kind of keep track of all of that would be just insane. So that's what we're there for, is to keep track of all that.
And are there other companies similar to that spot that you have? I mean,
there's a couple.
Only a small number.
Like a handful.
It seems to me like I don't know.
It's very niche.
I used to have a great respect for library science. They used to have a thing, young man. I suppose you can't. Oh, I'm making jokes. And they used to have a thing called stacks when you were in the library.
I know the stacks.
And you had somebody called a librarian. And the librarian knew that 9:05 was such and such, and they had a way of organizing so you could get a thing, get a book. You understand what I'm saying?
I know the process.
So it sounds that sort of was a great thing to keep a grid, put a grid. Library of Congress, Library Dewey Decimal. They had a grid on reality or reported reality.
Yeah.
The literary tradition and everything. Do we have such in terms of what's going on now? Google says they want to have everything, or Wikipedia wants to have all world information will be in one place or something, and so there's a big change going on in terms of that. Are you running a particular role in terms of like a librarian?
I guess in a way, you could call it like that. But it's
librarians used to help in getting you down to the right thing. I have great respect for librarians and their mindset.
I've never thought of it that way. It's really interesting. I mean, I guess in a way we are like that. Obviously it's a very small subset of the infinite human knowledge, but in terms of what people are writing for what outlets or working for what broadcast networks, then we know that we're librarians in that sort of way. So and my team, I guess, would be like the librarian. So people come to us and say, where do I find this person that covers this topic at this newspaper? So
I got a story that might really be hot for their evening news or something like that. They can be in touch with the news people and make it up to date and make a point and be a that's what librarians would do. They get you the right thing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really important. They have a thing called, you must have a really rich database that has to be kept up to date because you've got not only the star of the show, let's say, or the CEO or something, but you've got the appointment secretary or the assistant to it. That's the one who really makes the decision that gets to his desk. Do you understand what I'm saying? The whole hire. You have to keep that up to date because people are moving from one to another in the line. You have to keep that all up to date.
Yes, we do.
And that's done by some very clever cyber things and everything.
No, it's done by people.
Yeah, it's okay.
We have a team of people. We have a team of people that just go, we call it scrub. So they go through and scrub. It's a very old term. Yeah. Scrubbing your lists, making sure they're clean and up to date, and we just go through our listings and just make sure, throughout the year or on a rolling basis.
You do that monthly, or how do you?
It's constant.
It's
basically constant.
And that's an important part of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so we pride ourselves in being extremely up to date.
Yeah, you would want to be.
Yeah, and
because it's so volatile.
It is. I mean, that's the whole reason that this industry can even exist. Is the fact that journalists move from place to place so frequently because the stability of their industry is obviously under question right now. So moves happen and layoffs happen. I mean, for example, the New York Times just laid off 100 journalists earlier this year.
Journalists?
100 journalists.
Wow, really?
Well, not 100. I don't think it was all journalists, but there was quite a few journalists.
Yeah,
there must have been maybe 30. 40.
Yeah.
The rest, of course, there's some business side and administrative stuff.
Right,
but they laid off a ton.
Well, they can matter too.
Yeah, USA Today, just announced that they have to do 90 layoffs. So it's things like this that make the work we do as important as it is.
Yeah. Are there other things? I know there's a thing called the leadership directories. Are you familiar with?
We talked about that.
Yeah, that's really good. They keep up to date. And they go not only into you're going into media by and large, you're sort of focused on that, but they go into everything. I mean, like government, the federal structure, the state structure, the universities, the lawyers, they go through the whole society in keeping up to date with the contact people that you can do.
And I respect
and you can subscribe to. It's a huge job. It's similar to what your company would be doing.
It's very similar, just, they have that many more people to keep track of, so I completely respect that.
And then they make that available to somebody as a database, and they keep it up to date. and they're very good. Are there others like that? How are we keeping touch with society? That's really keeping in touch with society at a practical level.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, 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 very important in terms of a very rapidly moving and fluctuating and changing social order.
Yeah.
Are there other systems like that? Leadership directories? Are there others?
I imagine there are.
You're not using any of those others in order to help you do what you have to do, or maybe you don't do that at that end. You don't have to keep track of that database.
No, we don't.
yourself.
It's just and I mean I'm in it every day, and I do some updating because being the client facing side of things.
Yeah.
If one of our clients comes in and says, this reporter just left, update your database, and I'll do it right then and there. So
you can do it. You have the authority to do
yes,
it.
absolutely.
Okay, on the company database.
Yeah.
That's your company database. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that could be your company database could be in relationship with the leadership directories if they're doing it. They have to have a way of being able to be in touch with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then I guess the government has to be aware of that in terms of the changes that are going on and who's at Treasury, who's here, who's there.
I know.
The state, local, all of that. All of that is being done by databases. That's a very important kind of thing for people who are engaged in society, is it not?
I would agree. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the largest dimensions of that are.
I imagine I've never really thought about it because it's never gone. I've never gone out of my little kind of media bubble. But I'm sure. I mean, you mentioned leadership directories does things like government and
they're great.
Business. And
Sue Healy's over there now. She's good.
Really?
We did a program with her. Yeah, she's senior. She's really good. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have to look
Yeah,
that
yeah.
up. I'm sure that there's for every database that does one thing, I'm sure there's a database that does a different industry.
Yeah.
Someone might do just banking officials.
And then that's also a metaphor for everything. I mean, like those airplanes are flying exponentially safer than the people.
Yeah.
And you can have things set up autonomically. And there's these big things that are going on, and it's important to keep track of it all and everything.
Yeah.
And it's interesting work that you're doing. Now, you're relating to the clients.
Yes.
I wonder, Freddie, I wonder if we could maybe go to the site.
Yeah, sure.
We have the site. It's there we go. Here's the site. And if he can bring it up, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have a difficult bringing it up. But if we can bring it up, we could talk to it. But maybe we can get back to it. But you could talk through it. But it's rich and it's moving and it's changing all the time, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of the great things we have.
Maybe we won't be able to bring it up. Yeah.
I think it went again.
We're trying, but we're having a little trouble with the.
But there's some really good things on there. We do a lot of interviews, which PR people love. It's to talk to each other, because it's PR people talking to other PR people essentially, because that's who reads us. So we have interviews with some top people at different agencies, in-house, people who have started their own businesses. We also talk with the media. Sometimes we'll have interviews with some bloggers, people who do fashion or travel, and they'll just talk about how they relate again with PR people because it's the ultimate audience. And we use some we call them media briefings, where we get the staffs together of any outlet. And we'll have their staff on stage, and they'll talk about their day and how they get the news up and how they do their job when they have their meetings. And so just a lot of really great information.
Yeah, that's
that
important. That's important stuff to have. I mean, and I can just see it as part of a evolving world where these things are going exponential. It's going so really rapidly like that, and you're there on a regular basis, and you're talking to how many clients are there that you might be with your team might be into? I mean, who are the clients that you would be relating to? And what are their interests and importance?
I mean, they're kind of all over the place. We have professionals from agencies who are specifically, their clients are companies. So we answered it, they're specifically PR people. And then we also have PR people that are in-house, which is a term for PR people who work just for that company doing PR for that company. Say like, let's go,
it looks like we're not going to be able to bring that up. It's okay, Freddie. It's okay.
But you have something like a Pepsi, for example, like the PR person, the PR people for Pepsi. They're the PR department within Pepsi. So that's in-house. So we have those all. Yeah.
So
we have clients like that also. We have upwards of 300 clients here in the U.S. That's companies. Yeah. And in a given, I think my team, we probably are handling upwards of 80 to 100 requests a day.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's
Your
growing.
team, how many teams are there?
like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay. So so you got to be right on the money when they call and everything.
Yeah, basically.
And what they'll be looking for will be what at a time.
It's
Say
all
PepsiCo.
it's all kinds of things. I mean, you can have everything as simple as what's this person's phone number?
Yes,
this
that's
one journalist.
important.
What's
And
this
the
person's
extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this person's email address? What do they write about? You know, there's some. It's as simple as that, but it's also things like, you know, I need to find out what reporters cover the beverage industry on the East Coast.
Right.
You know, and things like that. So it's kind of all over the place, and then we'll get news like this person moved or this person is starting a new publication, and you know, the news just comes in constantly, and we just have to try our best to update it. We verify everything. You know, so we don't just make, you know, changes kind of at will. So we like to make sure that things are absolutely right. And we're like, yes, they've absolutely left. You know, we'll update then and just try and stay on top of who's doing what and where.
We've got a new senior vice president in the eastern office of our very large organization and so forth. We'd like to be able to get that word out, particularly the eastern part of the United States, through the media.
Yeah.
What are the contacts that we could be able to let them know that's there? They might want to add a little bit in their paper, or they might want to put a little thing on their show.
Exactly
Is that
right.
the kind of thing you get?
Absolutely.
And then you say you want to call Sam Jones here and somebody there, and you look up and find and make that request like they would to a librarian. I want to know about Tacitus.
Yeah, and that's how it would work.
Understand?
You know, and if not, and then a lot of this information is already available in our database.
But you have to have it available in a timely way.
And a lot of times we just, you know, we can tell our clients how to find it in our database because they have access to our database, of course. So they can, you know, they can find out who they need to talk to about, you know, a new partner at their law firm, or like you said, a new SVP.
If they have access to the database, why do they have to have access to you?
Because
do you add something to the database that they have access to?
Yeah.
What do you add?
Whatever they ask for. So if they ask for a report, they see a reporter and say USA Today. That's not it. They'll type in their name.
We hadn't got it updated.
No, and they'll be like, oh, I think he might be at USA Today now, and they'll be like, oh, sorry. Then we'll go and look it up, and yes, he is at USA Today, and we'll update it.
Now, if you had updated it and he'd gone from USA to BBS, that would have already been done if it had been updated autonomically.
Yeah. Well, if someone had picked that up already,
or
if someone
do you
else
understand what I'm saying? Is the database up to date?
Yeah.
Or can databases be kept up to date like that automatic flying that plane?
Not automatically,
without people doing it?
I
mean, to what degree can we autonomically update the database of understanding the realities of the communication of all the people of the world and so forth?
I just don't think it's possible.
Oh,
you know,
well,
there's so many factors involved. I mean, obviously we have things like email that allow us to communicate and get information fairly quickly on what people are doing. But I mean, I think part of our selling point is you know, that human touch, that fact that we're talking to that person.
Okay.
We're, you know, they're not just a person. They're not just a, you know, a couple pixels on a screen. There's a person there, you know, who picks up the phone or answers the email and who writes the stories that you read every morning.
Yeah.
So they're there, and that, you know, that's the touch, and that's what I've really liked about being there is being able to get to know some of these people.
Yeah.
You know, because you read your paper, right?
Yeah.
You see the names, and you always wonder, who are these people that I'm reading their names? Like, who is this person? And kind of meeting them in person, it's like mini celebrities almost, because you know their names are.
Or even celebrities.
I mean, there are a lot of celebrity journalists, so that's definitely true.
And you set up a personal relationship with them.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
can help get
in the future. Yeah.
Would your name be good if it comes up on their extension cord saying it's from you rather than from Joe Schmuck?
Perhaps.
Who
my
is
phone
calling?
My phone number is blocked.
So
no, probably not.
What I'm trying to do is just see the implications of it all.
Well, it's also our company name, because we send out those newsletters every day that they read. They know who we are. So if I say,
so the company has a good reputation.
Yes, we like
and
to
you
think
want to
so.
protect that.
Yes.
So you don't want to be doing things sloppy.
No.
You have to be efficient.
We have to be as efficient as we can without offending anybody.
Without offending anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we like to think that journalists are kind of like our clients too. You know, they don't pay us, of course, but their goodwill and their opinion of us is so important to what we do that there's no way that we could steamroll them over.
Well, how about journalists? Like you have journalists, you have PBS, you have ABC, you have the journalists, you have all the cable, you have all this, you know, all that and everything. Are they involved with you? Their information are involved with you in terms of somebody who wants to place something?
Yeah.
So
they'll contact us. It happens quite a bit.
What's his name? Wolf, the guy at CNN or something?
Wolf Blitzer.
Wolf Blitzer, or, you know,
The big guys.
There used to be
the big
Walter
guys.
Cronkite,
Yeah.
And all that. But you have the telephone number and the extension number, the one who sets up, and a way for somebody to get the a word to them that they might want to put it on their 8 o'clock news.
Yeah,
Or something.
exactly.
You got a way to do that, and that's what you're helping to do.
Yes.
Okay, so that's important in terms of the ongoing media.
It is.
That's
yeah,
very
and,
important.
You know,
it can be.
Yeah. No, and we get a lot of great feedback from our clients to say they couldn't do their jobs without us. You know, there's so many. Especially I think TV is especially hard because there's very kind of a high wall there.
Yeah.
So to be able to know who exactly you need to call at Wolf Blitzer's program to get your guest on.
And which saloon do they go for a bourbon at the end of the day? You know, what's the extension of the bartender?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that,
having an in.
Yeah.
There.
Or that. And getting all that kind of stuff together to help make the society run efficiently and everything. That could be carried out into larger dimensions.
Absolutely.
How does the government get information about what's going on in North Korea?
Yeah.
What's going on? I mean, they must have their own sources of that.
Yeah.
You have the national security agencies doing similar kind of things,
Yes.
right? You know, getting data on everything. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Snowden just did a whole thing, and what is called? What the guy that's in where is he? He's up in the Ecuadorian embassy and everything.
Julian Assange.
Yeah, Julian. They revealed how much the national security agents and how much goes into getting information about everything in real time.
Yeah.
And they're tracking you with your cell phone and everybody. And there's all these privacy issues coming up and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you people address yourself to those issues that are in the public consciousness or not? The invasion of privacy, and in order to get it up to date, you're invading the privacy of somebody who's giving that phone number for the bartender at the saloon where the guy goes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand is there a problem?
I think there is, and we try to be as open as we can, because like I mentioned before, we don't want to be forfeiting the goodwill of these journalists and people who do so much for us, and we try to do as much as we can for them. But if someone calls in and says, I hear that my contact information is in your database, can you please remove it? We remove it immediately.
Okay.
We and we'll send screenshots to prove that we did it and say, listen.
How did it get in there in the original? How did it get in there in the original?
There's really no way to know.
Are there general databases that are made available that have everybody's thing, and then you have to opt out of that?
Yeah,
because it's just automatically everybody's got access.
Well, not
to
automatically. A lot of people have opted in, to get things like our newsletters and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, to do what?
To get like our daily newsletters.
What about it? What is
people
that?
have opted in?
Is that a publisher? Oh, that's the thing online.
Yeah, we send. Well, that's one of our major services. Is sending out a newsletter that has updates. This person's going from here to here and changing beats.
Is that that in order to keep up with the whole database?
Yeah.
That would be a very big thing.
Well, it's not everybody. It's like 10 to 12 items a day. It's a short list.
Oh, I see.
It's a daily.
Highlights.
Yeah, highlights.
They used to have a
but
thing
they're
in
new.
music.
That's only within the past month or so.
They used to have a thing in music called the Hit Parade. You're too young to remember that.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody would say, "Who's the #1 song?" Or or the stock market. Yeah. The stock market is watching with derivatives and a quarter point prime over going here and everything, and they're following all of that stuff with tremendous capability to get in on what the hell's going on in order to get a put or a take or whatever. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this thing is part of that, is being part of that, and I'm just wondering where that's all going, because it's all going exponential. Are we going to get to be where everybody knows everything about everybody else at all in real time and so forth? Or where is it all heading?
It's kind of happening.
But you, like I said, that thing about an airplane being flown more safely without the pilot.
Yeah.
You're putting the pilot back in the seat, in a sense, with your thing, a personal thing, and that's human, and that's important.
Which I think is refreshing because
you understand this is a philosophical thing confronting mankind.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think people appreciate a human touch because, like you said, we are moving toward a thing where there's more automation in everything we do. The food we eat.
Yeah, everything.
The planes we take, apparently. There is more automation, but I think there's a lot to be said for a human touch, and people still really appreciate that. And there are businesses that build their entire backs on that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Even airlines. Some airlines are much more customer service focused and much more.
Well, it's customer service. You make sure they got champagne and the seats are up and all that with the stewardess and that, but it's the flying of the airplane.
Yeah, no, I mean.
Now, what if it's true that it's safer, better, more efficient, more up to date when you don't have people?
Yeah.
running the airplane,
I don't know.
or running the country, or running the world, or running the stock market, or running. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that input by people with their stumbling old ways that they have and everything getting in the way of real progress that can really go into
to some degree, but then
androids that have instantiated consciousness and all the possible. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, a bit, but but if we weren't doing anything, then what would we be doing?
Well, that's a problem, because the problem of identity is really important in terms of having people have something to do. The robots are taking over the productive process, and the algorithms are taking over filling out all the boxes and forms and everything, and all the algorithmic things that are coming. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's taking over the whole process, and the assets are all owned by a tiny plutocratic class.
Yeah.
How are people going to get money if they don't have how to buy the services and things that run the economy? If they don't have some way of getting money by having what they call a job.
It's the question of the age.
And then also, you have to be you can't be cavalier, because things do happen. The mail comes. That's a mailman brings it.
Yeah.
The policeman's on the corner. The policeman, the institutions we've inherited out of history and everything, it worked. The system works. And you don't want to tear it apart and have anarchy or something.
Not without an extremely good replacement.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track, but it's really interesting work that you're doing, and sorry we couldn't get that up. So how is there, this thing is growing. Do you think there are going to be more agencies similar to you? And we're talking to you at Manhattan Neighborhood Network now. There are people who watch Manhattan Neighborhood Network. It's a public service thing. Is there any way people, producers, and or administrators, or anybody involved in this thing called public access could be in touch with your office? Profitably or well by each people, or not, or is that? It's not ABC or a great big company. It's just people.
Yeah.
But is there any point for people to be in touch with you in a way that might be possible to set up a client relationship or something? Or not? Maybe it's not.
I mean, unless they're public relations people, frankly, probably not.
Okay. Well, maybe they should set up a public.
There's two sides. So there's us. We kind of like to think of it as like a triangular feedback loop. So you have us as one point, PR people as a second point, and journalists as a third point. And because of how niche everything is, there's kind of really no room for other people in there.
Well, how does the journalist get? We're journalists.
Journalists.
The producers are journalists.
Well, then yes.
It is for journalists,
yes,
right? Because we're little.
Yeah.
You don't pay attention to the little guys. You only pay attention to the stars.
Of course we have the
So
little
maybe
guys
we could have a connection with you, the producers here.
Yeah.
So they put out good stuff and everything. You can let people know.
Absolutely.
But what I'm getting at is, are you limited in the how do you limit who it is you're in touch with? Is it by them getting in touch with you? Are there structural limits to your mission statement or something like that, to who is going to be in relation taking advantage or using your services?
I mean, I guess if people want them and they're of the need, then we're glad to be there. Because
how is that sorted out at your end? Suppose our executive director gave you a call and said, is there anything we can do?
Well, we talk it out and figure out exactly what we could do, if there's anything we could do, whether
Would you do that or somebody else in the company?
Probably somebody else.
Somebody else.
We're a fairly small operation, so.
Okay. Well, in terms of the overall economy, we're small.
Yeah, no.
I'm talking now public access.
No, but I mean in terms of levels of people to talk to. If someone were to talk to me, it wouldn't be the worst thing either. I'm only one of 35 people, and I can figure out where that
is.
Needs
that
to
35 in the whole company?
That's just in the U.S. That's just in New York.
Okay.
And
you have offices elsewhere in Britain or
in
where?
London.
In London.
Yeah,
right.
And there's a couple hundred over there.
So okay, I'm just thinking in terms of how that all came to be and how it comes to be and what the implications are into the future. What you want to have is something that can improve the human condition.
Yeah.
And improve the efficiency of everything like that. So how many calls do you get a day? Or
Not
tell
too
me
many.
what an average
It's mostly email, honestly.
Oh
it's
yeah,
mostly an email-based
way,
communication. Especially like journalists, PR people are notoriously avoid the phone.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Journalists do not like the phone.
Journalists do not like the phone.
They don't like answering phone calls.
Is that true?
It's absolutely true.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Journalists don't really like being called because they're writing their stories, they have deadlines and things, and unless they can guarantee that phone call is going to be supremely important, they mostly don't answer it. And 5 years, I can tell you right now that 90 to 95% of journalists that I've talked to say, I prefer email, do not call me.
You think that's true of, let's say, academia and other institutions and everything?
I think the trend is going,
everybody's communicating with type?
Yeah, I think by and large, people are kind of moving away from speaking on the phone.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's interesting to me.
It is. I mean, I like phone calls, but it's.
Oh, I would much prefer.
Yeah.
I'm in a position where I want to try and set up a program.
Yeah.
We did it on the. Well, we met in person,
Yes.
as it happens. But
Yes.
you call somebody and say, "I read your article. Maybe you'd like to do a program." I would much prefer to be on the telephone.
Mm-hmm.
But is that because I'm older? Maybe I'm used
Perhaps.
to that.
Yeah, I think
but it's instant,
Yeah.
and you can say, "Well, look at your book. Can you make it such and such?" And you don't have to go back and forth about in print.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of consciousness.
It's definitely a generational thing, like for sure. There's
Yeah.
there's people who are teenagers now who have probably almost never called their own friends, who have never spoken to their own friends on the phone. They'll speak in person, of course, but I think when friends aren't around each other now, I think a lot of it is texting and
They seem to be
messaging.
texting across to each people across on a subway train. This one's over there, and they're texting back and forth rather than talking.
I'm sure.
Is that? Do you think that's getting to be the case? What do they? Is something called Twitter?
Twitter, yeah.
How does that work? That's something where you just do.
It's like
and they're all typing in.
It's just a constant stream of people, of text. It's all text, of course, but it's a constant stream of. It can only be up to 140 characters.
Why is that? Is that
Not sure. It was just it was like an arbitrary limit.
144. Is that something to do with 12 or something, or the number, or
Perhaps.
something?
I'm sure there's some reason that the guy who started Twitter decided to be the number, but it's the number.
I think it's some magic number, 12 by 12 or something.
I think it has to mean something, but it's a special amount, and then you can just tweet small little things. You can just say out to the world, "Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm sitting in this chair right now with Harold." But then, journalists especially love it, I know, because, they can get their stories out and share their stories with other journalists who are on Twitter.
Well, there's a different journalist but you need Skype or something if you're a video journalist. You can't do anything
you can
with
you can tweet a link to your video on your website.
Oh, that's
So links are fine. And actually, Twitter does.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but Twitter supports videos and photos. So you can tweet a video, and it can.
How can you tweet a video if it's 144 characters?
Well, because it's a link, but there's the Twitter tool recently was updated where if you tweet the link,
where is the 5-minute clip stored? On
YouTube.
On YouTube.
On
YouTube. I had a friend, Levinson, great guy, understanding the media.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through a big change with media.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just happening. He was a good friend of that giant, Marshall McLuhan. He was the oracle of the electronic age that's coming and everything. And he wrote a new book. I love him. He's great. He's really good. He really understands. He was understanding the implications of the media. And this thing called social media.
Yeah.
Are you
Twitter
part
is one.
of
Twitter
that?
is one of those.
Twitter's one. You're not. You're not part of that.
I am. Yeah.
You are.
I'm
no,
on Twitter.
I mean the company. And
the
what
company.
You're doing.
No, I mean, we're active on it. Active on social media is the word.
And you have to
people
be
use.
understanding it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's kind of unwritten rules, and there's etiquette, of course, that's involved, and but you'd have things like Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn.
Anyway, he wrote a thing. He's really smart, really a good guy, really good. Paul Levinson. He's really good.
I'll look him up.
And he wrote a thing about a new book that he calls the new media. So they're talking about new media. That's where you got this Twitter thing, and you got the Facebook, that's new. And something else that he includes in that. That was interesting to me. He includes YouTube as part of the new media.
I agree.
You do?
I do.
That's important. And not only does he do it that way, but he includes it because he, in a certain sense, we used to have the New York Times was called the newspaper of record.
Yeah.
Or the Wall Street Journal, or the London Times, or I don't know.
Papers of record.
Yeah, the paper, the medium of record. And he's saying that we're going into an electronic age, and Rodney King, do you remember that? Had the bejesus beaten out of him out in Los Angeles. And it was videotaped by a thing. It was videotaped. If that had been print, it would have died with nothing. It was the print. It was the video that did it. That's what made it hot or important.
Well, I mean, it was the same.
And it had to be multimedia.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So what he's saying in that book, and he put it in his book, He said, for reasons that you're trying to get something that is using multimedia, or is multimedia, that the Twitter fails. It doesn't meet the standard. Facebook doesn't meet the standard. The standard medium of record now is YouTube.
I see.
The medium of record is multimedia.
I see what he means.
And that's important. It's Rodney King is important. The guy getting strangled in Brooklyn.
Eric Gardner.
Yeah, all that. It's not the print.
No.
The print. If you had said a guy was beaten up by the police in Los Angeles named Rodney, it would have gone nowhere.
Yeah, well,
you saw it.
Yeah, well, you would have.
And that's the medium of record is multimedia. It's now multimedia is the medium of record.
Yeah.
If they get it into the court, you get into nuance and all kinds of things that you don't have out of a linear perception of reality. Mm-hmm. That's a big change.
It is big. I mean, it's just the proof that's there, you know. And like you said, like this Eric Gardner thing, and there was the one, I didn't catch his name, Johnson, I think is his last name, that was just arrested down in Virginia at UVA. Again,
he shot somebody or something?
No. It was just, again, it was just arrested for trying to go into a club. I don't want to get too much into the details because I didn't get that much into reading it, but it caused some riots down there at UVA.
Yeah.
Because as he was getting arrested, he hit his head and he had to get like 10 stitches, and it just looked bloody and horrible.
That's the point.
That's it.
The medium of record is not the New York Times.
No.
Or it's not that. It's YouTube. Mm-hmm. That's really something very interesting because it's multimedia.
Well, so much more powerful to see.
Well, it's the way the world's going. We're coming more. That's the way. When you walk through the world, you don't have everything all strung out linearly.
No.
You don't. You see things multi-sensorial. That's the way you encounter the world when you walk through. We now have that as a medium of record that we can do, and it's going to become the way in which we get some sort of algorithms and things that are going to allow for an operating manual for Spaceship Earth in a way that's in tune with the electronic media, not the linear thinking coming out of history.
Yeah.
And you're involved in helping to bridge that gap in terms. So I appreciate that, and I just mentioned that and everything, and I really thank you for coming in.
I appreciate you having me.
It's been great talking to you. And it's your pleasure to have had the perceptions then, again, of Anthony Mercier.
Mercier.
How do they say it in France?
Mercier.
Mercier. What's better, Mercier
it's
or
Mercier? Well, it's just Mercier. My dad's from Montana. Not much French up there.
Okay. Well, it's your pleasure to have the perception of him, and I think it's really interesting what the work you're doing, and I think there's a room for a lot more of that moderating or working that space that we were talking about. And I really thank you very much. I also understand you participate in karaoke. Am I right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. But we met at a karaoke event.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. We used to sing collectively. It was everybody knew the songs. It was a community sing. But karaoke is like, everybody seems to want to be a star. Do you think that's the truth?
A little bit.
They're being encouraged to become a star, not to become part of. We used to all sing George M. Cohan songs because everybody knew all the songs. I don't have any idea what the songs are now. Do you know the words to all the popular songs?
A lot of them, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, but people sing along also. I mean, you might be the only one on stage, but everyone's singing with you.
Well, okay. Well, that's just something I've got to investigate. But thanks a lot. Thanks for you, and we'll be coming back again tomorrow, so do please turn in. Andrew, thanks again once a lot.
Thanks again.
Very, very much. Okay. I think we're out now. Thank you very much. We'll be coming back tomorrow. Okay, well, that's it. See what we got.